Today's lesson begins chapter 13, and we're going to be focusing on perimeter and area. All right, here's that T-chart I was telling you. Now here you see this one's created a little bit different. You can make this with your notebook paper, or you can just simply make a T-chart, label one perimeter, and label the other one area. With the first flap labeled perimeter, I want you to write this definition because this is the one that we're going to be using to define perimeter. Perimeter is the distance around a shape. Pause the video while you write that definition. Now, thinking about perimeter, this is the way I want you to be thinking about it. If we're looking at perimeter and we're thinking about the distance around a shape, we're going to be thinking about a yard. If I was going to be putting a fence in my yard, I would need to know how far around my yard that was. I would add all the distances, the sides together, and then I would know how much fencing I would need. That's what perimeter does. Perimeter is all about adding the length of the sides in a shape together. So now we're looking on page 497. So if you've got your book at home, you may use it, or you can just use your piece of notebook paper. If we're looking at a rectangle, we know that a rectangle is a four-sided figure with two parallel sides. So this is 8, and this is 8. This is 12, and this is 12. So I can come up with a formula to put them together. Certainly, I could add 12 plus 12 and 8 plus 8, or I could say there's two sides that are 12 and two sides that are 8. So 2 times 12 is 24. 2 times 8 is 16. And 24 plus 16 is 40. So the perimeter of this shape is 40 centimeters. If we're looking at the perimeter of a square, I know a square is a four-sided figure with right angles that has all of the same sides. So I can certainly add 16 plus 16 plus 16 plus 16, or I could think, what is 4 times 16? And when I do that, it is 64. So the perimeter of this shape is 64 inches. When we're using the formula, again, we're thinking, I know there's going to be two of the same length. I know there's going to be two sides of the same width. So I want to use this formula. 2 times L plus 2 times W. So if I'm looking at the example here, I know that there's 2 of 18, one here and one here. So I would multiply 2 times 18. I know that there's 2 for 14, one here and one here. So 2 times 14. I know 2 times 18 is 36. I know that 2 times 14 is 28. And when I add these together, I'm going to show my work up here. Not a mental math one for me. I would get 64. So the perimeter of this rectangle is 64. Let's review what we did. We thought about the way a shape was formed, and we know that there's 2 of each side. So I multiplied by 2 and then put those two products together. Now go back to your T-chart. Pause the video and write what you have learned about perimeter. Now on your T-chart or your foldable, label the next flap area. Write this definition. Area is the number of square units needed to cover a flat surface. So let's think back. I know perimeter was about the sides. Area is about the insides. So every single one of these is counted as 1 cube or 1 unit of area. So for example, in this example, I have 3 units this way, 6 units this way. And when I count them all, I have 18 squared units. Now, I don't know what the units are, but let's say that they're feet. I would write my answer, 18 feet, and then I would write a 2 for squared. We're going to be practicing this. On page 501 in your book, you're going to see this example. We're going to be using a formula that looks like this. Base times height. When we multiply base times height of any square figure, we can find the area. Let's practice. Here, I know the base is 5. So the height is here, 3. When I multiply 5 times 3, I get 15. 15 square units. And you can go back and you can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It works. For this one, if I'm looking at the base, I'm looking at the base here. I counted 8 units. The height is here, 2 units. 8 times 2 is 16, so it would be 16 square units. For the base here, I've got 3. For the height, 3 again. 3 times 3 is 9, 9 square units. We're going to use base times height to find the area of a shape. So when we look at the example, we have a base of 6 and a height of 2. The base is 6 feet, the height is 2 feet. 6 times 2 is 12, so the area would be 12 feet squared. When I look at base times height here, I've got a base of 2. Oh, I've got a height of 2. 2 times 2 is 4, so the area would be 4 meters squared. Now, get your T-chart back out. What did you learn about area? All right, take a look at combining the two. If you remember, perimeter is the area around the shape. It's the fence. The area is the inside. So if I'm looking at perimeter, I'm going to think I've got 2 sides that are 13, and I've got 2 sides that are 5. If I'm thinking about the area, I'm going to multiply 13, the base, times the height, 5. Pause the video and solve the problem. I know that 13 times 2 is 26, and I know that 5 times 2 is 10. When I add those two together, I get 36. So I will put a P for perimeter is 36 feet. When I multiply 13 times 5, 3 times 5 is 15, 1 times 5 is 5, plus 1 more is 6, so my area would equal 65 feet squared.